On number 8, you're just simply trying to identify whether it converges or diverges. If it converges, then you can find the infinite sum of the infinite series. If it diverges, you cannot. I simply am checking to see if it converges. It must be geometric, based on the only two we talked about. It must be geometric, and r must be less than 1. So let's see. The absolute value of r is less than 1. For example, 1/2 is less than 1, right? Absolute value of 1/2 is less. Negative absolute value of negative 1/2 is less than 1. So that's what we're looking for. So that's all I'm doing is I'm doing right minus left. It's to see if it's arithmetic, or right divided by left to see if it's geometric. If it's geometric, then I'm trying to find the sum. If I'm trying to find the infinite sum of the infinite series, the formula is S equals a sub 1 over 1 minus r. A sub 1 is the first term, and r is the constant term that you get there. So for letter A there, if I do right divided by left, I get that r is 7 over 8. So my sum is going to be the first term divided by 1 minus r. If I'm going to plug down in my calculator to show you how to do that here, I'm simply going to do 1 divided by, and I just put the bottom in parentheses. As long as I do that, I get the right answer. And I see that my answer is 8. So the sum of the infinite series for number 8, letter A there, number 8, letter A is 8. I'll show you the answers to the others. Here are the answers for 8, number 8, A, B, C, and D. All of them converge except letter B there. Letter B does not converge, the rest of them do. So there's a work for letter A and B. Again, you have these answers on the answer sheet posted on Edmodo. I'm sorry, A and C, A and B, and the answers for the bottom two there as well. For number 9 there, ask you to thoroughly describe the equation that will most likely give the following graph. So if you look at letter A there, so keep in mind that if they go in opposite direction, the degree must be odd. If the right side goes down, then the leading coefficient must be negative. If the degree is even, they go in the same direction, like in letters C and D. If the degree, if it's negative, if the leading coefficient is negative and they go in the same direction, it'll look like letter D. But if the leading coefficient is positive and they're even, it's going to look like letter C. Letter B is an odd degree polynomial that has an a value that's positive because the right side goes up. So on a test, all you would simply do is I would give you answer choices that are in factored form, and like for example 9A here, you would pick a an answer choice that has seven factors, which means you have 7 roots, and then you would check to see that the number in front is negative because the right side goes down. For letter B, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roots, so you're going to pick you would pick an answer choice that had 5 sets of parentheses, or the exponents added up to 5. And then you're going to need the coefficient in front must be positive since the right side goes up. On number 6, you have a 6 degree. The degree is 6. Because the right side goes up, you know your number in front is going to be positive. And then letter D, you have 4. Right side goes down, so the number in front needs to be negative. Okay, so when you talk about logarithmic expression, when you talk about expanding or condensing, for number 10 here, we're asking you to condense. We're asking you to get it to where you either have one natural log or one log by itself. On the answer key, I actually did the step-by-step as to how to get them there. I'll show you the answers here in a second. But minus would become division, plus would become multiplication, and if there's a number in front of the log, it becomes the exponent for the inside. So if you look here, I do apologize, I did not detail those. Let me show you in detail. Here's the work for A, B, and C. Notice the 3 goes back as the exponent for the x plus 1, and the minus becomes division. Notice letter B, the 3 goes back as the exponent for x, the 4 goes back as the exponent for y, and the 4 goes back as the exponent for z. Because it's plus becomes multiplication, and minus becomes division. Letter C, notice that when you distribute the -4, that it goes in front of the first guy and goes in front of the second guy respectively. Then the 4 becomes the exponent of the inside on each, and then because they're both negative, they move to the bottom of my equation. Here's the work for letter D there. You distribute the 2 to the front of each natural log part. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times -1 is -2. 2 times -1 is -2. I apologize, I left out the natural log part. There. It should also be there. My apologies. Lack of sleep from my wife and son being sick. So natural log goes there. The 2 goes back as the exponent inside here and here. Then minus becomes division. They both go underneath the bottom. So there's your answer for letter D. We went over this guy in class. Basically, you have to label your picture first. And in this case, they give me more angles and sides, so I'm going to use law of sines. If I flip to that there, this law of sines formula is this guy here. A over sine big A equals B over sine big B equals C over sine big C. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then, from there, I'm going to plug in the information. So based on the information they gave me, I filled out my picture. They gave me angle 17 here, angle 22 here. Three triangles, angles out of triangle has 3 angles, each the angles add up to 180. So if I have 17 and 22, I need 141 for the third angle. And then I simply set up my proportion with what is given. 12,430 divided by sine 141 is equal to, and then I simply picked what I was looking for. Be careful when they ask you the distance from satellite A, they're asking you for this distance, which is actually opposite angle 22. That's why we use 22 here. And then for letter B, when it says satellite B, the distance from satellite B is this guy, which is actually opposite the 17. That's why we use 17 there for the answer. So that's your answer for letter A, and here's your answer for letter B. Here's the answer to number 12. So they give you a situation, and they give you the lengths of 2 sides, and they give you the angle in between the sides, and they're simply asking you in letter A, what is the length of the tunnel? I'm simply going to do, it's law of cosines because I have more sides than angles. Here's a law of cosines formula if you're looking for a side. Here's a law of cosines formula if you're looking for an angle. Since I'm looking for the side opposite 105, that's why 105 goes here, as in here. And then the other 2 sides are my A and B respectively. It does not matter what order you put them in. Once I plug that in my calculator must be in degrees. And then I'm going to take the square root of this number to get this number. And this is the length of the tunnel. And then for letter B, it says what is the angle at point X? So they want this angle. So that means that from this formula, the side opposite the angle I'm looking for will always go first. So in this case, they want that guy there. Now I want to show you how to punch this in the calculator so you do not get that wrong. I went ahead and plug this guy in there so that I was able to use the full answer from this and not just the approximation. So all I'm going to do, because 956 is across from angle is point X, or the angle I'm looking for, I just simply open parentheses. It'll be 956 squared minus 825 squared minus, and I simply arrow up to select the previous guy squared, close parenthesis, divided by open parenthesis, -2 times 825 times what I got from previous there. Once I do that, I'm going to end up with a decimal. Usually you end up with a decimal. And then that is not the answer. Keep in mind that will be an answer choice trying to trick you. Don't get tricked. So from here, I'm going to do inverse cosine. So second cosine of that, enter. And then my calculator will give me the right answer. So that's all it is to it there for that problem. Okay, for number 13, there's a video tutorial on exponential modeling. It's similar problems to those. So basically all you're doing is you have your formula y equals c e to the kt. And then all I'm doing, they usually give you what you start with. Then they'll give you a value of t and a value of y, which I've done here in letter A. And then all you do is you take that information and plug it in the formula. C is 100, that's what you start with. Y is 50 when t is 5.27. So I plug that in. Then I divide both sides by 100. And then to get rid of e, I'm going to do natural log to both sides. When I do natural log, the e cancels, leaving me with the numerator, with the exponent. Sorry. Then I do natural log of the left side divided. And then I know I'm going to divide by 5.27. So if I were to plug that in my calculator, it would be natural log 50 divided by 100. I just want to make sure you know how to plug it in, and then divide by 5.27. Okay, and that gives me my k value, which you see there. And then I'm going to answer the questions. So I wrote my equation out based on my c and my k. K is a constant. You always find that before you can write your equation. And then they first asked me how much will, if 100 grams is present now, how much will be present in 20 years? So I'm simply plugging in 20 for t and getting an answer. So if I plug that in, it'd be 100. And then to get to e, you do second ln. Then I'm simply arrowing up to select that number and then multiplying times 20. And my calculator will tell me what the answer is. So 7.204 is what it rounds to. Then the next one says, how long will it take for only 5% of the cobalt to remain? If 5% of the cobalt remains, 5% of 100 is 5. So I simply plug 5 in for y, and instead of solving for k, I'm going to solve for t. So you see the work there for that. And then moving forward, the rest of the guys on that page are similar to those. It's the same similar setup. You're doing the same skill. There's letter B, if you need to pause it to look at the work for that. And then there's letter C, if you need to pause it to look at the work for that. And then there's letter D as well.